This 2023, my friends and I decided to go on a 10-day Caribbean cruise during spring break. The route brought us to 5 ports. Visiting the birthplace of reggae, we made our first stop at Falmouth, Jamaica. We had an amazing time interacting with dolphins at the Dolphin Cove in Ocho Rios. The basic package includes holding, kissing, and dancing with a dolphin. The Princess Excursion includes the adventure package, which means you also get to be pushed on a boogie board and do a belly-to-belly swim. You are not allowed to bring any cameras or recording devices in the water. The resort has in-house photographers that will take your photos for you. Each photo can be purchased for a whopping $40 or $140 for all your photos. After all the fun, we had complimentary jerk chicken with rice and beans for lunch. After our dolphin encounter, we hiked up Dunn's River Falls. The 90-minute tour includes a guide who will show you the safest path up the falls. While the rocks are scrubbed to minimize the risk of slipping, it's still slippery and the current is strong in some parts. This is why aqua shoes are required for this hike. If you forget to pack yours, you can always buy a pair for $12 at a gift shop on the way. The city of Cartagena is as colorful as the peacocks and parrots that welcomed us at the port of call. The city is rich with culture and history, so we did our own walking tour of the Old Town, the Wall, and Gethsemane. The taxi fare from the port was $15 per way. Cartagena is filled with preserved colonial architecture, and we loved getting lost amidst the churches, plazas, and mansions. You have to enjoy the heat, music, street art, and friendly locals if you want to pass the vibe check in Gethsemane. We stopped by one of the bars for overpriced beer, but it was worth it on a hot, sunny day. We continued our journey for more amazing IG-worthy spots. The narrow streets of Gethsemane are decorated with colorful kites, flags, and umbrellas during the day and would turn into a different world at sundown. Our cruise ship's next port of call is the biggest city on Costa Rica's Caribbean coast, Puerto Limon. We had booked a city highlights tour with Viator, a small tour group that emphasized Costa Rica's rich biodiversity. We hopped on the bus with our eccentric tour guide and did one loop around the town of Puerto Limon to see the Sacred Heart of Jesus Cathedral, Parque Vargas, and the Sea Wall. We got on the highway and drove to our next location, often stopping along the road to spot sloths, exotic birds, and plants. I learned that there are certain spices that can be used as a natural cosmetic like a lip tint or blush. Fruteria El Almendro is a small fruit market that allowed us to sample their tropical fruits and coffee, as well as learn about the herbs grown in their backyard. For only $7, you can try a local cocktail called Coco Loco, which is made of coconut water, dark rum, lime, and pineapple served in a coconut. Bananas are a big part of the Costa Rican economy, being the #1 source of revenue for the country. Companies like Del Monte, Dole, and Chiquita dominate the industry. Our next stop was Finca Philadelphia, a banana plantation that educated guests on the process of cultivating, harvesting, and transporting bananas. The blue plastic bags covering the bananas serve 2 purposes. Number 1, minimize the scent of fruit from attracting animals, and number 2, preventing insects from getting into the bananas. A pulley system allows several bunches of bananas to be dragged across a plantation, minimizing the back-breaking effort of workers. The 45-minute boat ride in Tortuguero Canal allowed us to spot more animals like howler monkeys. As a bonus, I got drenched in the middle of the power nap because our driver thought it would be fun to drift in the river. Talk about a rude awakening, right? We rolled into Playa Bonita, which is Spanish for beautiful beach, where we enjoyed local beer, white sand, and a quick dip after a long day under the sun. We finally reached the highlight of the trip, the historic Panama Canal. We entered Panama from the Atlantic side, passing through the new locks of the Agua Clara before finally flowing into Gatun Lake. Unlike the other ports, guests are not allowed to get off the ship in Panama unless they had an excursion with Princess Cruise. Guests that choose to stay on board can watch the Caribbean Princess swing around the canal back to the Atlantic. Since Agua Clara is a recent expansion of the canal, my friends and I decided to splurge a little to see the older locks, which were built over 100 years ago. We disembarked from the cruise ship and went on the old Panama Canal cruise, a princess excursion worth about $200 per person. The tour included a 1-hour bus drive to Centennial Bridge, where we got onto a smaller boat that passed through the older canal called the Pedro Miguel and Miraflores locks. Buffet lunch with unlimited drinks were served, and we also got a chance to touch the walls of the canal. We witnessed the rise and fall of the water between locks as the water drained in the current lock and filled up in the next lock to level out the water. The entire passage through the old locks took about 4 hours, and we emerged in the Pacific. Panama Canal is truly an engineering feat, which resulted from decades of excavation and construction. Soon after, we passed under the Bridge of the Americas. We emerged in the Pacific and took a bus back to the port of Colon. The final stop is the Grand Cayman Islands, where we paid a visit to Stingray City. We booked the tour with Captain Marvin's through Viator. Since the Caribbean Princess's tendering was delayed, we missed our original tour. Captain Marvin's was nice enough to bump us to an upgraded tour leaving in the next 30 minutes. We got on a catamaran to a sandbar. Each person had a chance to hold, kiss, and be massaged by a stingray. Later, we got to feed the stingrays with raw squid. We got back onto the catamaran and navigated to 2 snorkeling spots, Coral Gardens and Barrier Reef. Each person was provided with flippers and snorkel gear. On the way back to town, we enjoyed some punch.